What's the craziest thing you've seen in someone's attic, I suppose?
Um, I've seen everything from like dead animals, which that's on the nasty side, to street signs that people have up in their attic for some reason.
Like they
Um,
stole them?
like maybe they stole them, or like I don't know how they got them or why they put them up in their attic. Antler sheds, so like deer and elk sheds up in an attic. A lot of decorations, some weird ones, like whether it's Halloween or Christmas. Old decorations, boxes of like personal items. One was like a box of old checks that had all been like written and either cashed or deposited or whatever, but like a whole file box full of just like a ton of checks, like the lifetime worth of checks
Dude,
someone had in their attic. So a lot of random things.
things that you like can't speak about sometimes, or you're like, nothing
Nothing,
too crazy.
no, nothing crazy like that. That's like shouldn't tell anyone about. Like I've never found a dead human body. I'll clarify, mostly like
Yeah.
dead rodents or pigeons or things like that. But yeah, nothing like crazy. Like oh my gosh, I can't believe I found this. I shouldn't say anything. Type deal. At least not yet.
You never like left and like, oh my goodness, I can't believe I saw that.
No, no, not yet. I see some weird things in people's houses walking through with them, like when I first meet with them, then up in attics. Mostly attics are just like hot and dirty and sometimes cramped.
Yeah. And full of like rat and mice feces and
Lot,
stuff.
lot of them have that. Yeah, you can see the little trails through the insulation because they'll like walk the same paths and then their droppings everywhere. Sometimes they're staining on like the electrical wires and ducts that they walk on.
Like termites too, probably.
Some of that, yeah. Well, I've been in attics where like you're going from truss to truss, and um, as you start to give weight to one of the trusses, it starts to just like crumple like paper, and you're like, "Oh, that's not gonna hold me." So, got to find an alternate route. And then, yeah, when things like that pop up, I'll let people know too. Generally, they're aware of it, but some people are like, "Oh my gosh, what? I have termites, or I have rodents, or something." It's like, yeah, they could be like an old issue and it could be a current issue. That's hard for me to tell sometimes, but at the very least, people will know that there's something going on. A lot of times they're like, "Oh yeah, that we when we bought the house, there's a big issue and we got it taken care of. And it's under warranty now and stuff." But sometimes it's like I'm the bearer of bad news for things like that. But I'd rather them know than me just be like, "Oh, I'm not going to say anything."
Yeah. Then you can
I
refer them to Skip or somebody,
yeah,
right?
yeah. I know a guy for it, and then I just feel like too, like if it was my house and someone went up to do an inspection for me in a place that I don't generally go a lot of the time, and they found something that I feel like I would want to know as a homeowner, so I try to kind of take that approach with people.
And then what area do you service?
Just here in the valley.
Yeah.
So I have a specific territory, mostly Tempe, bit of South Scottsdale, Ahwatukee, over then a little west into Levine, and then up Phoenix, Glendale area. So it mirrors a lot of SRP territory, which is good because we're part of their rebate program. SRP has an insulation and duct sealing rebate program. So that's my like specific territory for marketing purposes and things like that. But any business I receive via referral from existing relationships I have in the business, whether that's HVAC people or roofers or restoration people, returning customers even. You know, like we did their house a couple of years ago. They just sold and they bought a new house, want us to come back in and do their new house. I can service that wherever in the valley, really in the state for that matter. Generally, we stay in Phoenix Metro just for logistic purposes. But yeah, I could service it wherever.
Do you see a difference in areas, or like are they all kind of the same with
Um,
roofs and
yeah, there's
attics?
definitely different, like, depending on the age of the neighborhood, there will be different building styles. So, like, 50s, 60s, 70s homes were all more kind of ranch style. So, simple gable roofs with, like, it's usually just a rectangle house or maybe like an L shaped house. It's got two roof lines on it. You get more into 80s, 90s, early 2000s, and a lot more like different wings on houses. So roof lines are a little more complicated. There may be parts of the attic that are a bit harder to get to as well with how those roof lines intersect. And then different insulation practices over the years, you can definitely see the difference in like some improvement, some just different. A lot of just builder stuff I find is not great. I mean, I understand why they're building it to meet minimum building codes and then just sell it and move on, but it leaves a lot to be desired from a efficiency standpoint.
So then I guess take me through the process of going through a home and evaluating.
Yeah, so our process starts when someone like has an issue in their home that finally gets to the point that they're like, I gotta call someone about this. And so they jump online typically and they're like home comfort or home efficiency insulation, and they'll find us and then they'll call in and schedule. They can schedule online, and we always do an in-home consultation first. The nature of what we do with every house being different, every attic being different, you never know what you're going to find up in an attic and what needs to be addressed. So it's really hard to give an accurate quote to someone just over the phone or pulling up their house and square footage online, because you just never know. So we start with that. We do a free consultation, and I start with meeting with the homeowner and talking with them a bit first, just seeing kind of how long have you been in the house, what are the issues that you experience and like that we're trying to address, whether it's a certain area of your home that tends to be extra hot or cold. Maybe airflow is weak in parts of the house. Maybe the house is just really dusty, like way more so than it should be. Like even though we live in a desert, there's going to be dust in homes, but like really dusty homes, or just generally high bills, and people are tired of paying out the nose every month with electric bills. And so I'll talk with homeowners and get a good idea of what issues they have that they're wanting to address, when and where they experience those, kind of where their bills are at typically. And then with that info, I then go up. I'll kind of outline my process to them, but I go up in the attic space is where we mostly work, in the area that we can make most cost-effective improvement in the home without a lot of intrusion or like repairs needed afterward. So we don't have to tear drywall down to get up in the attic and improve that space. We can work up there and clean up when we're done, and you never know we were there. So I'll go up and I take a look at kind of the layout of the attic. I see what kind of accessibility we have. If there's areas that we maybe can't get to or need to take special consideration in getting to, see what type of insulation they have now, how much of it is there, what condition is it in. I look at the HVAC system, the ducting particularly. I look at the condition of the ducting, the seals on the ducting, so your starter collars, your seams, your Ys, everything that brings your cold air into the house. Is it leaking into the attic before it gets to the house, or is it pulling hot air from the attic into the system and causing it to have to work extra hard to then recool that air? Or sizing issues in ducting is a really common one that I find. Like maybe they replaced their AC a couple of years ago and they sized up a little bit in tonnage, but they didn't size up the ducting accordingly. And so now they've built in kind of a bottleneck, if you will. That system's kind of breathing through a straw, capable of moving more air than those ducts can hold. I find that very frequently. So modifications like that can be very impactful in opening up those airways, lowering the operating pressures on that system, but increasing the volume that it's moving. And so you get more hot air pulled out of the home and more cold air brought into the home every time it runs now. You couple that with insulation and holding that temperature better, and that's where you get really kind of, it's like an amplifier effect.
Right. Does that affect the unit if it's bottlenecked?
It does. So
Sooner.
yeah. It's the same effect as most people can relate to this, of like catching a sock or something in a vacuum as you're vacuuming, and you hear the vacuum kind of stop up, and it's like, it's working harder but doing less. So it'll give that same effect on the blower motor that's in your air handler of your HVAC system, and so over the course of several years, it'll shorten its lifespan if it continues to work under that extra strain. You'll wear out parts more frequently. You'll have to replace capacitors or compressors or fan motors and things like that way more frequently than you should have to. And yeah, that system generally just won't last as long as it would otherwise.
How often should somebody check out their insulation?
Most materials these days will at the the very least will last about 35, 40 years. So if it's been done fairly recently, it's not something that you need to like redo every 5 to 10 years. But most homes that, were built, most people are like second, third owners on their homes. And if you're not sure when your insulation was done last, it's worth getting it checked out, because if it is low, it gets so hot here, especially up in the attic. All that heat tries to come down into the house. That's a common misconception that people have. Everyone knows that hot air rises, but heat itself, the transfer of it, is always just temperature difference driven. It's always trying to go from a high to a low temperature. And when you have attic temperatures of 130, 40, 50 degrees here, and your home temperature is in the 70s generally, that's a really big temperature difference. And so that heat's going to try to come as quickly as possible into the house to kind of even the temperature out. And insulation is what slows that flow down. So even if you're just low on insulation and your coverage is still pretty good, like you don't have missing areas even, but the insulation is lower than it should be, that heat will come into the house, which will make the AC have to come on more frequently and run longer to compensate for it, which will then, you'll see that on your monthly bills of that extra usage.
Dang. Yeah, that sucks. That it moves like that, yeah.
Yep. And it sucks that like it's just so noticeable here. AC has to run a lot to compensate anyways. But if you leave it with those built-in weaknesses in your thermal envelope, the insulation, or if your AC system is leaking into the attic over the course of even just a summer here, with as often as AC runs, it's a lot of wasted cold air right up into the attic. Just wasted money too for people.
How do you get the material into the attic?
Depends on the material.
I guess on what kind of materials. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's different types of insulation. There's a lot of different materials, and they'll be, some of them will be better in certain scenarios than another. Like there's batting, so the pink or yellow stuff that comes in either rolls or like 4x8 kind of sheets. People are usually familiar with that. That's best used in like walls, where it's made pre-cut to fit the width of your studs, and it fits in there nice and flush. And then you drywall to it, and it kind of is encased in a wall. For attic spaces, batting's generally not going to be your most efficient option, just because there's naturally going to be gaps where all your trusses are when you're laying it out. But then when you add in electrical and plumbing and HVAC, ventilation, everything that's up in the attic, it'll create a lot of lifting and gapping of that material, so hot air can get under it.
Right, so if there's a gap, then it's...
Yeah, if there's an air pocket, yeah, that bat, even though it looks like it's laid down on the floor, if there's dead air underneath it, it's not an airtight material, so it needs to be up against the surface that is in order to perform correctly like it's made to. And so the heat will just kind of bypass that, and then drywall is all that's keeping it out of your house. So for attic spaces, batting's generally not the best material. A blown in is going to be your next best and next most cost effective too. So blown in is, you can be either fiberglass, cellulose, they make denim, they make mineral wool still. So there's a lot of different materials. Most common here is either fiberglass or cellulose. And so that's just blown in, a big corrugated hose about 3-4 inches wide, about 150 feet long, runs from the truck up into the attic. And guys just start in the back corner and kind of work themselves back to the access point. Depth markers get installed so you can see, depending on the material, how thick you need to go to reach the right R value. So that's how.
What if you put too much?
It's not really going to hurt you. You will reach a point of diminishing returns. I guess if you went crazy with like a heavier material like a cellulose and did like, I don't know, you could get into weight issues on the drywall. But the main thing where it just stops having a money saving effect or a comfort increasing effect past a certain point, you'll kind of plateau. And so
then you're just like wasting.
Correct. You're buying extra material to have it put up in your attic that you're really not going to see a benefit or an ROI from. And each different climates will have different kind of sweet spots of what the best R value is and where that plateau point is. But for our climate, generally you want to be between like R38 to R49.
What does that mean?
The R value is just a rating for heat flow resistance on materials. So different materials will have a different R value per inch, and then your total inches will give you your total R value. So for example, a cellulose insulation is about a 3.8 R value per inch. So if you want to be at an R38, you need right around 10 and a half inches of that material to reach that R value. So yeah, to back to your question of like, can you do too much? Yes and no. Like, not where it's like, oh my gosh, you screwed the pooch and you're gonna really regret this. It's just you're kind of spending extra money that you don't need to, when the measure you're taking is to save money.
Right. And then what other materials, like, is there like a supreme material of all?
Yeah. There's like the Rolls-Royce option of insulation, which is the spray foam. Which in this climate, there's two types of spray foam. There's open cell and there's closed cell. Again, different materials, different applications they can be better suited for. Generally, in a residential sense, up in an attic, you'd be using an open cell foam. And foam is nice because, as opposed to other materials, cellulose, fiberglass, batting, blown in, it is airtight in and of itself. And so instead of having to be installed down on the attic floor against your drywall, which is kind of your airtight material that your thermal envelope meets up to, I'm getting a little nerdy on you. Stop me at any point.
Nerd it out.
The spray foam is both a pressure and a thermal barrier in one. And so generally it's installed on the underside of the roof deck instead of the attic floor. So you kind of create an encapsulation of the attic space. Instead of your exterior walls and your attic floor being that thermal envelope, it now is up along the underside of the roof line. And so it's very impactful here with how hot attics get, because now the attic itself is inside the thermal envelope of the home, and all your ducting is inside the thermal envelope of your home. And so the term is heat load. Basically, think of cold air through hot pipes and the constant fight that is. Or like if you turn on your garden hose or your yard hose in the summertime, it's hot water first, and you got to run it for a while until the cold replaces it. The exact same thing happens with your ducting up in the attic. It's sitting up in those really high temperatures, and if AC's off, the air's still in the ducts, it's just not moving, so it's just heating up, and then AC kicks on. It's got to push the hot air out into the house as the cold air expels it.
Yep. It's warm first.
Yep. And so the vast majority of homes here have their duct system up in the attic. It's just the style of building, and it's like probably 95% or higher homes here have their ducting up in the attic. And so anything you can do to reduce that heat load is beneficial to the system, because it's going to spend less time cooling off the ducting before it can cool your house, and more time getting that cold air to the house.
Because it's heating my house before it cools off.
Correct. You're kind of taking a step backward before you step forward.
Step back. Step forward.
It's partly why perimeter rooms in homes tend to struggle more too, because the ducting runs are generally longer to those rooms, so there's more hot air to expel, and the thermostat's more central in a house where it's reading the temperature. So by the time the thermostat hits temperature, those rooms have not been in the process of actually cooling for as long as the other ones, because they've had to get the hot air out first for a longer period of time. So that's why they'll struggle sometimes. Little side note.
And the sun's hitting all outside.
Yep.
It's heating it all up.
Yeah.
Thermostat's not
corner rooms that have exterior walls, south, west exposure, things like that. Yeah.
Although this room is actually quite cool. I think this is like the coolest room.
Yeah, if I recall, this one's pretty close to the upstairs air handler, so it's one of the closest exits.
It doesn't a lot of cold air. I want to get a fan and just blow it out the door.
Get one, a little like big old one in the corner there.
Yeah, circulate it.
But yeah, this. So yeah, in your house, this room, even though it's an exterior corner room with where your air handler's located up in your attic, it gets kind of first dibs on airflow, if you will. You don't notice that heat up as it kicks on as much, because it's a shorter run. But going back to the spray foam thing, that's why spray foam is so impactful in a lot of homes, is now the entire duct system is inside that thermal envelope, and your attic temperature will drop significantly and not fluctuate near as much as it typically does. So an AC system is able to cool the house quicker because of that. And it's
very nice.
Yeah, and it's a good climate for it. Spray foam performs well in hot, dry climates, which we got a lot of both of those things here, hot and dry.
So what would keep someone from doing that then?
From doing spray foam?
Much more expensive.
It is more expensive to retrofit to spray foam, which most of what my company does is retrofit work. So existing homes where we're coming in and either improving or redoing their insulation or their ducting. So in a retrofit sense, if you're going from a blown or a bat insulation to spray foam, step one is removal of all the old material, regardless of if it's good condition or not, because you don't want to have you don't want to have a double thermal envelope in the home. There's reasons for that.
I was just thinking that would be a good idea.
Yeah,
I feel
it's
like that'd
actually
be
not.
It's
Yeah,
not.
it's not. You don't want a double thermal envelope. You just want the one. Generally, too, so with a double thermal envelope, for example, where you usually get into trouble with it is with condensation when it's cold. So here it's less of an issue because it doesn't get nearly as cold as it does get hot. So temperature differences aren't the same in winter as summer. But if it gets pretty cold, let's say outside temperature is really cold, you're heating your house, but you have a double thermal barrier there, you can condensate between the two layers. So like your foam at the roof line and you're blown in at the attic floor. And then because spray foam is an airtight material and you've now made your attic an unvented space, it can't really dry back out. So then you can get
Airtight
into
and watertight.
yeah. So then you can get into moisture and mildew and mold issues where it can make the home unhealthy. So yeah, you don't want to retrofit to spray foam without sucking out that old stuff first. Also, to get a good install with spray foam, it needs a fairly clean, hard surface to adhere to. I don't know if you've seen videos of it, but it sprays on liquid. It almost looks like a pancake batter consistency, and within seconds you get the aggressive expansion of it to create the spray foam. But in order to get good adhesion and good reaction, you need a pretty clean surface. So like you can't leave all the old dusty fluffy insulation, especially in the corners of the attic where the roof's coming down to meet the exterior wall. Otherwise you won't get a good seal, and your foam won't perform nearly as highly as it is capable of and should.
Sounds like a lot of work.
It's a lot of work to retrofit to foam. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a multi-phase retrofit. It yields really high results, both on the comfort side and on the saving side. So, but one of the prohibitors would be budget for some people. If you're not wanting to spend that money, maybe your house plan is to be here another 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and it's like, will you recoup that whole cost in that time? Generally, no. Some homes you might if you're just really bad shape to start with and you go to spray foam, but generally you're not going to get that full ROI in that short amount of time with spray foam because your initial cost is much higher. So that would be a limiting factor. Other homes that have combustion heat up in an attic, so like a gas furnace, you don't want to fully encapsulate that system, because of it can put off CO if it doesn't have oxygen to combust cleanly.
And then the gas has nowhere to go. If
Correct.
It leaked
Yep.
or whatnot.
Yep. Even though like the exhaust itself is ducted out of the attic, it needs to have access to oxygen as it combusts to burn cleanly, and it gets that from an attic vent like a gable vent or O'Hagan vent or Eve vents or some form of attic ventilation, and it pulls it from. And when that's been all sealed off from spray foam, sometimes you don't get that clean combustion, so you can actually create a dangerous space for people with CO. And then some attics you simply don't have the space to do spray foam. You don't have the space to get in there and get a good removal, like I shouldn't say good, but like a thorough, like a complete removal. There's spaces that you can't physically get into to get that old insulation out, and thus there's spaces that you can't physically get into to get a proper spray foam install in that attic. And so for me, it takes it off the table as even a recommendation for people, because if you're going to pay for spray foam, you want to get spray foam results, and to get spray foam results, you want to be able to get a quality spray foam install. So there are some things that would kind of take certain houses out of consideration for being a good template for a spray foam retrofit.
Is that like a whole day to do, or is it multiple
To do spray
day
foam, multiple day in most cases, because it's a different truck and team and equipment that come in to suck all the old stuff out or to pull it all out, and then it's a different truck and equipment and team that's coming in to do the spray foam itself. Spray foam's a lot more intrusive too for homes and their occupants, just because during the spray foam install process, you don't want people or pets inside the house, as that foam reacts and creates the foam. It'll off gas and put off odors and stuff, which are dangerous at the time when it's being done. Guys have to wear special safety equipment and stuff, and then the attic needs to be ventilated for a period after. And so that's part of, like, if you guys were to do it here, you would have to find a place for your dogs, find a place for you guys to be out of the home for that period of time, whether it's a day or two, so maybe 2 days 2 nights type thing, or 3 days 2 nights, because you have that last day as a ventilation day and it's just pulling out the remaining off gassing. So a lot of times it's a little bit interruptive or intrusive for people, and it's just like, yeah, I can't do that right now.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Whereas the other materials we can do with people in the house, no problem. There's no safety concerns there.
So they wear the suits, and it's
Mm-hmm.
like 150 degrees up there.
Yeah, they will wear full suits, full face respirators, so a face shield with your filter cartridges that seals to their face, and yeah, it's already hot out there anyways. Yeah, well, in spray foam actually, the reaction creates heat too. So a hot attic will get hotter when you install spray foam in it from that reaction. So yeah, we have to summertime, like, you have to start really early and end early, and yeah, those guys, man, they go through it in the summertime. Any of my teams, whether it's spray foam or blown in, like, it's hot regardless. But yeah, the foam, full suits, full face masks.
So you could do like a 4 a.m. start time because the family's out of the house, or
We could generally, for neighborhoods, in the summer here, we can start work at about 5 for no, like, noise, and be fine. Like, people might be mad about generators running at 5 a.m., but like, legally we're able to do work that early. And that's the coolest time for an attic too, when it's had all night in the shade to cool off, and it's right before the sun has come up. Because as soon as the sun comes up again, that attic temperature just starts to climb.
how long have you been doing this?
This specifically, like, in the home efficiency field, going on 10 years now. But I've been in the trades a lot of my life. Like, my dad was a general contractor when I was growing up, so as a little kid, before I was actually any help, I was on job sites and around it. And then once I could actually help, my older brother and myself were my dad's crew. He would build spec homes. So we'd buy several lots, just empty vacant lots, design the house plans, we lay it out, dig the footers, pour the slab or the stem wall, and just kind of go up through all the phases. And so I got a lot of experience in a lot of the different aspects of construction and trades, which I found has helped me in just the assessments that I do on homes, because I know how the house came together. I know why things are where they are and where things are supposed to be and why they're supposed to be there. So it helps me see, like, when they're not, I can find things that are out of place or there are issues. A lot of times I find issues in attics that are completely not related to insulation or home efficiency. Like, I'll find electrical connections that maybe have been DIY'd, or an electrician, who knows who did them, but they're not done correctly, and they're such that covering them with insulation could create a fire hazard. So things like that raise a red flag for me, and those are things I got to bring up to customers. Similar to, like, termite damage or pests or something. When I see things like that, that's something that, because of my experience, I know that's not how it's supposed to be. And even if it's not something that I do, like electrical, for example, that's not under my license, I'm not going to fix that for you, but I can at least bring it up to you and say, hey, I would recommend, like, you do need the insulation, but let's not put the cart before the horse. Let's find an electrician, or if you know one, I have a referral if you don't, but this needs to be buttoned up before you then bury these, so that you can safely do that and not sit there and wonder if your house is going to catch on fire or something like that.
Dang, yeah, that pretty much puts you like a step above
It helps for
a lot of
sure.
other people.
People appreciate just the honesty, I think, too, of, but like I said, it's something that I would want to know if someone found that in my house. So if I find that in someone else's house, it's kind of the natural, logical next step for me, is let someone know, even if it pushes my project back a little bit. The trust you gain of, like, hey, this guy really does care about my house and doing a good job, and even though this is gonna, bump his install back, his project back, whatever amount of days it might be, like, it's worth it in the long run to do it. If it's worth doing, I think it's worth doing right, and not cutting corners and not creating an issue in solving a different one.
Yeah, especially if you catch someone's house on fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone else goes up has no idea,
Wouldn't be great.
and all of a sudden they foam it up, and
Mm-hmm.
now it's on fire.
Mm-hmm.
That would be terrible.
Yeah.
Have you always been in Arizona?
Yeah, I was born and raised here. Not in the Phoenix area. I was born and raised up in kind of the Silver Creek area, so Snowflake, Taylor, small town,
Okay.
kind of a
Is
smaller
that where you did the spec houses
farm
at?
town. We did that mostly. My dad built mostly up in Sholo and Pine Top area, so a little bit south of Snowflake and Taylor. But yeah, it's all kind of that same neck of the woods, rural Arizona.
When did you end up down here?
About 2014.
Okay, it's quite a while ago now.
Yeah, about what 12 years.
Yeah. Well, I guess share a success story
From
from foaming,
foaming or
I guess
insulating.
insulation, fixing somebody's house and their
Yeah.
lifestyle, and
Yeah. Can I share some reviews from people and just
Yeah.
let their words
yeah,
say it?
yeah, you can do that.
I have a few here. Um,
It's probably really good what you do for people in the heat here, that you're able to save them money and keep their house cooler in the summertime.
yeah, that's the whole goal, is that when you need our services, they yield the results in the areas that you're looking for. House is more comfortable, home is more efficient, bills drop, and it leaves us with really happy customers, and then a lot of referral business, just good reviews from which people find us. Neighbors talking to neighbors, hey, I saw those big white trucks out in front of your house. What were you having done? And then just family and friends as well. So like we did this house recently. And this one was really poor shape to begin with. This was a really small, an older home, like 1960s ranch style, not huge, maybe 1,700 square feet, single story, one AC unit. But her summertime bills, she told me, were chasing $600 a month
That's crazy.
on that size of a house, which that's way too high. A lot of people have high bills here, but that size of house with one AC unit, single story, block exterior walls, like, you should not be that high ever.
Be like 300 max, maybe.
Tops, yeah. Like my house is about 2,300 square feet, and I have two AC units, and obviously I've done the things that I do to my house, so it's pretty efficient. But yeah, the highest bill I've had since I moved in, which is 2020, so about 6 years now, was $314. So for a house half the size, or a little over half the size, with
What'd you say
one
your
AC
square
unit,
footage was?
about 2,300.
Okay.
So yeah, a house a little over half the size of mine, and half the amount of AC units, being double the cost. That's just a red flag right there to begin with. Like, there's an issue somewhere. We definitely need to find it and see what's causing these bills to be so high.
What was it?
It was a little bit of everything. Her ducting was complete chaos, just Frankenstein. There was old original ducting from when the house was built, kind of hooked into other ducting from an AC unit. There used to be an evaporative cooler on the house as well, which the evaporative cooling and AC units generally kind of share the same ducting on they share the supply side of the AC ducting. But when an evap goes away or gets taken off, that connection that it shares should be properly capped and sealed off, so that when AC runs, it's not just dumping back out of the old evap connection. So that was happening in this house. The old evap was not connected properly. The new AC ducting that they had put in was crushing a whole nother section of ducting. Like, I can show you the pictures. They were crazy. Really bad shape. The insulation was low, missing in a lot of areas as well. So like, she had a lot of room for improvement in multiple areas. And she's seen it like crazy. So she said that they recently had extensive ductwork replacement, repairs, and insulation replacement completed, and we couldn't be happier with the results. Talks about the office, the communication, the kind of the assessment of it, just being knowledgeable, professional. Sorry. Good communication the entire time. The crews that came in to do it, and that they're already seeing the airflow improvements, the comfort improvements in the home. The living room where she spends all her time used to be just a hot box. Now it's nice and cool, and her bills are like less than half of what they were last summer. So
Wow.
it's results like that I don't know, that really I like making that impact for people, just because like this is their home. This is where you're spending most of your time, and you want to be comfortable. You want to be safe. You want to have good air quality. Which ducting like that was in such bad shape is always going to lead to very poor air quality because there's a lot of mixing of attic air with house air and constant circulation of it. It's a lot of dust and just nasty attic air.
Mice feces.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
coming in
Dead
here.
pigeons, yeah, feathers.
Yeah. All that gross stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Just living up there,
But
cycling into your house.
yeah, but to make that impact on people's homes and for them to see their investment pay for itself very quickly is great. I just like the impact. I like hearing the stories from people after we're done. I'm like, oh my gosh, like my house has never felt more comfortable, and really needed this. Wish I would have done this sooner. Like if I did this 3 years ago, it would have paid for itself by now.
Yeah. How do you like B&I?
I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really liked it. I got invited by a couple of buddies of mine that one is still in the group, Cayden. Tanner was the commercial insurance guy. I don't know if you came in before he left or not. Big guy. LeBaron and Carroll Insurance.
I thought it was a roofer guy that left as soon as I showed up.
I don't know. Anyways, they were.
Oh, yeah. He didn't come back, Tanner? Or no? Oh, no.
No,
Wait,
that's Tanner K is the roofer now.
Okay, and there was another Tanner that just left, I think. I believe. Right? Just like a month or two ago?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Tanner LeBaron.
Yes.
Anyways, I got invited by them. Went to check it out, and I thought it was pretty cool. At the time, I didn't own my own company, so it was just kind of up to the owner if he wanted to get the membership and have me go every week. And I think at the time too, we were right in the middle of summer, which we are now, and we just get slammed in the summertime. Everybody calls us in the summer.
You're not supposed to do that.
What?
Send employees. Is that?
Oh no, you
really
totally can. Like you want the person that's regularly going there to be like a consistent face and name for people. But it doesn't have to be the owner. It can be an employee, like Edgar, for example, the painter guy. He's an employee. He doesn't own that company, and he was going. He had that seat for his representing the company.
Quite a few people.
Yeah, Derek. Yeah. I don't know if Russ is the owner of Aquazona.
He's not.
Yeah.
He's a sales guy.
Okay.
Yeah. So that company is in Ohio or something like that.
Oh, okay.
And then they have places all
branches
around.
all over.
You should check out that episode. It's up on YouTube.
Russ?
Oh yeah, it was great.
Is it on your podcast?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he was in here a couple days ago.
Nice. Yeah, no, he knows his stuff. You can tell when he does his weekly thing.
What is it, 30, 40 years?
Yeah, long time.
Yeah,
Since
the 80s.
Yeah.
He's been he did some plumbing and then he got in the water. So he knows. He's like you. He knows the backstory of what's happening. So when he goes into a house, he's like, "Oh, you can run plumbing here and get it connected." Whereas you can go up and say, "I know how this is constructed.
Yeah.
You need to fix this before." So very, very similar to you two.
Yeah, he's got a good perspective on what he's happened, and he's pretty involved with this text too of like being available for them to call when they're on a job and they're like, "Hey Russ, like here's what we're supposed to do. Here's what I'm seeing," and he talks them through it and makes sure it happens like what he says with the customer. So yeah, I like that about him. But yeah, no, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be the owner to be in BNI.
Maybe that's changed or something.
Maybe.
I hear things and I'm like, it's interesting.
I don't know. Not to my knowledge, but I haven't even been in a year yet. I joined in October last year.
Okay, so barely before I did.
Yeah, not too long before you did. So I'm pretty new as well. But it's been good. Generally, from what I've heard and seen, trades do pretty good in BNI because there's a lot of crossover of kind of power partners like me with HVAC companies and restoration, Russ with Josh the plumber, Hayden garage doors. We cross over some too because we do garages and garage door insulation also. So yeah, generally it's pretty good for trades.
Yeah, I'm still trying to find my place.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, you're kind of a niche.
Yeah.
Like so. You're the first audio video podcaster like guy that I've ever known personally.
Oh.
Like, I know people have used them and, like, hire photographers and videographers for things, but, yeah, they're the first one, like, I've known personally that owns his own business. And
yeah, and it's not just like a hobby.
Yeah, it's like what you do.
Yeah. I know tons of people.
Yeah, a lot of people have it as a hobby.
My whole circle is like video, photo people.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And I always wonder, it's like, do people know as many as I do? Like, it's like there's that people don't have no idea.
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, at least I don't. I don't know as many. You're the
not
one.
hanging out the same restaurants.
You're the one.
Do you ever do Facebook marketing or anything?
So I just started a business Facebook page that we're gonna get up and going. Haven't done a ton of marketing there. A lot of our marketing, like the way that people find us, is through the reviews and the referrals and just neighbors talking to neighbors and stuff. So a lot of business that way. And then just Google searches, like, again, it'll take you to the reviews, like such a highly rated company with so many reviews, that's going to be naturally one of your top results. And then the SRP program, the rebates.
You're on a list.
Yeah, we're one of the top preferred contractors. Last I checked, so I'm a franchise, so my franchise specifically hasn't done this amount of projects because I haven't been in operation that long as the parent company. But the parent company, last I checked, out of all the contractors listed in that program, in terms of projects completed, we were number one by several hundred projects over number two. Like we do a lot through SRP, and that's a cool program because people in SRP territory whose homes have original insulation, or even if it's not original and they've maybe been through a remodel or it simply wasn't installed up to where it should be to begin with, if it meets their criteria for SRP and we bring it up to their threshold for their rebate, obviously we got to dot our I's and cross our T's and make sure quality of work is really high and like methods of installation are correct for the materials and stuff. There's a lot of checks and balances in it, but when it's done properly, those rebates I can take directly from my cost, subtract it, give that up front to the customer, and then we go to SRP and process the rebate forms on the back end. So my service and materials cost is the same as what it would be if you didn't have SRP, but now SRP covers that portion of the cost, and so the customer's cost is lower, and that ROI is a lot quicker for them too. So the results are faster.
But it covers more than just the installation too. Yeah, it covers like units. And
yeah, they have
mini splits and
different
stuff like that.
So yeah, there's rebates for like new units, high efficiency HVAC units, which I'm not in that program because we don't do the unit replacement or repair. We just do the ducting side of it. Duct sealing repair and optimization, but there is a separate rebate from SRP for that, specifically duct sealing and repair, and that's a per unit rebate, $400 a unit. And so if your system's leaking all over up into the attic and needs some repairs and stuff, we can apply that cost to the cost of replacing or sealing or whatever it is that you need on it, and so cost to the homeowner is much lower, and yeah, impact is pretty high.
Do people find you? Well, I guess being in a franchise probably helps as people find you.
Yeah, I think it's helped for sure. 'Cause it's the same company, it's the same logo, same trademark, same services and stuff, and having been around as long as, the parent company it's an established business, like it's over 10 years in operation now. So
is it a local? Then
yeah,
okay.
Started right here. Yep, here in Mesa. So yeah, I think that's helped just to piggyback, if you will, off of the reputation and the branding and stuff. And it's I've been a part of the parent company not since it was started, but pretty shortly thereafter. I came on when it was still a very small company. It was owner operated. Nick was doing his own sales and installs and everything, and I came on as an installer, and so I've done all of the things that my teams do, which helps to, again, in that just the perspective I take into a home and assessing it, because I can say with full confidence of like, yes, we can absolutely get here and do this and this, or I can look at the house and be like, no, I'm going to shoot you straight. There's no way we're going to be able to get to this part of your house, or to do, like, some people have heard about a service, maybe spray foam, for example, and like are really set on doing it. And I guess I may burst bubbles sometimes, but I'd rather, again, be shot straight if it was me on the other end. So I'll tell people, I'm like, look, I really would not recommend doing spray foam. As good as it is as a product and the results that it can have, your home is not a good fit for spray foam because of X, Y, and Z. And so yeah, I think that helps too, because I've been an installer and I can see that, and I know I'm not going to sell a service to a customer that I know my team's not going to be able to come in and do a really good job of.
Right. What are some misconceptions? Do we touch on those?
Maybe a little, but we can revisit.
Yeah, you want to like list them out.
One of the biggest ones.
Start with one of the biggest misconceptions.
One of the biggest misconceptions.
It'll clip better.
Is that you can't mix materials. Like, if you have a certain type of insulation up in your attic, you have to stay with that type. That's incorrect. There are going to be different R values if you mix materials. So your total depth of a mixed material attic might be a little bit different than it would be of all of one material or all of the other material. And sometimes you have to account for weights of material as well if you're doing one on top of the other, or vice versa. So that's a misconception of people, like, oh, my attic has fiberglass, so I have to do fiberglass in my attic. They really don't. You have other material options, and we can tailor those to your house and your attic and your kind of situation specifically. A big one too is that, so fiberglass as a material has been marketed a lot better than cellulose, for example. And so most people think, because of that, fiberglass is better. Like, I just want to do fiberglass in my attic. Not to say fiberglass is a bad product. There's pros and cons to each of them. There's some really good properties to fiberglass, but it's not necessarily the best material for every house across the board. There might be a situation where cellulose, or a stabilized cellulose, is better for this attic than fiberglass would be, or more cost effective for that matter.
So what is cellulose?
Cellulose is mostly recycled materials, so like paper, cardboard. There's a little bit of plastic in it, and there's actually a plant here in Chandler, so it's made here locally, the stuff that we use. When we blow cellulose, we only use the stabilized version. The main knock on cellulose as a material is its slow breakdown over time. It just kind of disintegrates and settles a bit over time. And it kind of continues to do that, so you'll end up with less and less and less over the years, and your house will feel hotter and hotter over the years, and your bills will get higher and higher over the years because of it.
Fiberglass settles too, doesn't it?
All blown-in materials will settle a bit after initial install, but past that point, fiberglass doesn't continue to disintegrate and fall apart like what the older versions of cellulose will. So a stabilized version of cellulose has a dry starch mixture that's in the product, and when it churns up in the hopper and blows into the hose, there's a water jet attachment that you need to have that mists the product as it goes into the attic, and that activates that starch stabilizer, so it acts as like a binding agent or an adhesive kind of. So the product will stick to itself, keep its depth and its R value for much, much longer than what old versions would. So like old versions of cellulose in the 70s, for example, in my house, that's why I had about 2 or 3 inches at the point when I bought it, because I bought it from the original owners. It had never been touched since then. Probably had about 8 inches to begin with, and it was down about 2 or 3 after that long. So it was really, really low.
So you have to suck all that out?
I did in my house. I didn't necessarily have to, but I was doing some remodeling too, knocking out some walls, putting in some new electrical, so it was more beneficial to have a cleaner space to work with, to run wires and stuff, rather than just crawl through all that and then blow it in new when I was done. But yeah, my house, for example, is just getting a little off current topic, but I went with stabilized cellulose in my own house over spray foam because of the pitch of my roof. I have a really low pitched attic, so there's not a lot of room in that house. So to get all of my old material pulled out all the way to like the really tight corners and stuff would be, one, really, really difficult, and would be incomplete. Like, I wouldn't be able to get every single bit of that out. And so I also would not be able to get in and do spray foam and get it into those super tight corners. Because foam, as opposed to a blown-in material, which we can blow 10, 12, 15 feet away from the end of the hose and reach tight areas, and the material will kind of disperse and get around nooks and crannies and trusses and stuff. So that I can get a long ways without physically having to crawl down in those tight areas. Spray foam applies very similar to, like, if you're like rattle can paint, the distance from the surface you're foaming, you need to be fairly close, about 16, 18 inches generally. So you physically need to get down in those tight areas to be able to foam those. And when guys are like prone across trusses with a full face mask, that if it, unseals as you're trying to reach in there, it can be dangerous. So like, my attic's not a good template to do spray foam on. So I went with the blown in cellulose, and I went with the stabilized stuff, so it'll last much longer. Like, I'm not gonna have to redo my house while I live there.
So they're pretty comparable then, ultimately. The
fiberglass and cellulose. Yeah. Cellulose has a bit of a higher R value than fiberglass. Fiberglass is hypoallergenic, which is kind of a cool property of it. You don't really get that full property if you mix it. Like, if you blow it in on top of existing stuff, you kind of need to suck it out and clean the attic first and then do fiberglass to get that specific property. Otherwise, it just kind of mixes with the existing dust and stuff that's up in the attic.
Seal
right.
Like it should.
Right.
What makes you different?
Is that instead of just an insulation company or an HVAC company that are kind of that one and only thing, we're what's called a home performance company. Fancy way to say we look at the house as a whole and its different systems. So it's thermal envelope, it's HVAC system, the ducting particularly, penetrations from attic to house through electrical or ventilation, plumbing, vents, things like that, so that we can work on really good, accurate info of where are our weak points in this house and what are our options to fix them and get results from it. So it's not just a boilerplate like we blow insulation. Most homes could benefit from blowing in more insulation, but if you also have really leaky ducting like the lady we talked about earlier that's in terrible shape, and I come in and just blow insulation over the top of that ducting is still going to be leaking up in the attic. We've only addressed half of the issue, and thus we're only going to get half of the results that she could get from looking at more things in one. So in it's getting more popular these days, like holistic medicine, looking at the root cause of the issue versus treating the symptom of the issue. It's kind of the same thing, but with houses. So we come in and with our assessment process and the diagnosis, we're really confident that we're working from good information and knowing what areas we can focus on to get results. It's not just a shot in the dark of like, oh, we could try this and see if it helps on a house. And so that gives homeowners confidence in like, okay, and options too, because if you have good info and you have good options, generally you're going to make a good choice and then you'll see good results. So that's kind of the process and what sets us apart a little bit from just like an insulation company, for example. Insulation is a big part of what we do, but not the only thing we do. In some cases, like if a homeowner, if the issue is not insulation, we can tell them, hey, look, it's not this, it's actually this, this, and this.
It's your windows.
Yeah, it could be windows. It could be, it could be other things.
It's your kids leaving the door open.
That does not help. Yep. Does not help at all.
Good. Do you ever talk to like window people?
Sometimes.
And like, because I imagine if someone's redoing their windows, they probably want to have good insulation too.
Yeah.
And like you get the low E windows. And
generally, the thing on windows, so I don't sell windows, I don't install windows. Windows can be a big help in a home, and they obviously add some value too. Just they can help reduce sound if you're by a street or an airport, or if your windows are single pane and metal framed like my windows in my 1970s home.
Just heating your house up?
Yeah. Big radiant heaters on the wall. Generally, the thing with windows though, so the focus of my company, what we do is we want our services to be to ROI as quickly as possible for customers. Just that's the formula we found. That again, it leads to happy customers and a lot of return business and referral business rather. Windows in general, I mean, unless you have a hookup or something, they're so costly up front that even if they save you a lot, it takes forever to see the full ROI on that investment. And so just for that reason alone is why I haven't really gotten into windows or anything like that. It's just there because I see quotes from people. They're like, yeah, I'm trying to get my house more comfortable and efficient. I've talked to some window guys that have some quotes, and they're like between $50,000 and $80,000, and I've seen upwards of 90, like near $100,000 to do your windows in a home. And I'm like you'd have to be like 170 years old by the time you see that ROI on that investment. Because even if your bills, like in that house we talked about, 1,500 square feet, $600 bills, even if you cut that in half and you're saving $300 a month, $300 a month for how many years to pay off that high of an initial cost for windows? So I don't know, just kind of looking at things from a cost-effective standpoint. Not trying to knock windows or window guys at all. Like I said, I'm going to put new windows in my house because I need them. And like my house doesn't have a lot of windows, thankfully. So I'm sure my cost isn't going to be as high as some of that I've seen, but generally it's just not cost effective.
Yeah. Maybe if you do your own windows, that could probably cut a lot of costs.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you have either the knowledge to do them, or you have a guy in the window business that, they have some left over from a big project they did and they happen to fit your house or whatever, like
I think you can just buy the windows.
Yeah, you can go to like a Window Depot or something like that. You can get them made to size too. My house is a block house, so you have to get a block window to go in there and stuff. But I've done one of mine already, and so yeah, there's cheaper options than just hiring a company for it. And in those cases, yeah, probably a lot more cost effective, and I think you probably would see that ROI. But the standard approach of just finding a company and hiring them to replace your windows is usually a pretty high cost.
Like I would do it myself, but it'd probably be crooked a little bit. Like all my home projects are. You can tell I did it.
A little, yeah. Nice.
It's like whatever. I'd rather it be weird, and I look at it and I'm like, it's whatever. I did it.
I'm cool with
then
that.
Someone else doing it and something weird about it, and I'm like,
yeah, and then it frustrates you the whole time after. Yeah,
I shouldn't have called them.
I could see that.
So, nice. I think that's everything.
I think so. Yeah.
Good. Most of that I don't even know.